Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Victor Diaz here alongside political anchor James Barragan. It is good to be with you.
Victor, it's election season, and here at Spectrum News, we're explaining some of the positions you get to vote for on your ballot.
Yeah, James, we have a lot to get and to take you through, so let's start with the state Senate and how it works. To pass a new law, first, a senator files a bill. It's sent to a committee that will study it, hear testimony, and make changes. If it passes committee, it goes to a full Senate for a debate and a vote. If it passes there and the House passes it too, then it goes to the governor. The governor can sign it, veto it, or just let it become law without a signature. The Texas Senate holds more power because there are fewer members serving here than in the House, so individual senators carry more influence. And James, big picture here, 16 of 31 state senators are up for re-election. So let's expand to our U.S. Senate race here, and can you tell us what the difference is between these jobs?
Well, the state Senate handles state and local issues, things like funding your public schools, the roadways in your home, property taxes, things like that they deal with on the local level. The U.S. Senate really deals with the federal government, things like immigration, trying to work with the president. Those are the major differences. The U.S. Senate just handles the federal things like the federal budget, some of these things like DHS that we're talking about. Big races on that side with John Cornyn, Ken Paxton, and Wesley Hunt on the Republican side, and of course Jasmine Crockett and James Talarico, the main candidates on the Democratic side.
Yes, we've been hearing those names a lot in the lead up to this. Let's also talk about who's seen as our top dog in state office, the governor. Our Aaron Davis brings us a closer look at that seat in Texas politics.
Instead of talking about the candidate, let's talk about the job description. What type of powers does the Texas governor really have? They have what's called legislative power. They can sign bills into law or veto them. They can also call special sessions, like we saw last year when we had 2 following the regular session. The governor also appoints around 3,000 executive positions. That includes members of state boards, commissions, councils, and task forces. On top of that, the governor plays a major role in planning the state budget and serves as commander-in-chief of the Texas National Guard. They can also grant pardons and commute sentences. But there are checks and balances. Texas uses what's called a plural executive system, meaning several key state leaders are elected separately to limit how much control any one person has over the executive branch.
All right, James, we've got a very familiar name here, the incumbent Governor Greg Abbott, looking for his 4th term as governor. Who's he up against?
Well, he's got a number of challengers on the Republican primary side, but really it's nobody of a huge name. It is expected that Governor Greg Abbott will be the Republican nominee for governor, looking to be possibly the longest serving governor in Texas history if he does win.
I think people could be surprised because when you go to the primary, there are 10 other names running against him, but none of them have the recognition that he has.
It's not a huge challenge, right?
Because of the job that he's held. What kind of term limit are we looking at here?
Yeah, well, governors here in Texas do not have term limits. You saw Governor Rick Perry. He went, I think, 3 terms and then ran for president. That's the only way he got out. So as long as people keep re-electing Governor Abbott, he'll be there. Now, of course, on the Democratic side, there's State Representative Gina Hinojosa, there's Congressman Chris Bell, there's a farmer and former firefighter Bobby Cole who are challenging him. They're, of course, going through their own primary battle, and we'll find out on March 3rd possibly who gets to be the Democratic nominee to run against Governor Abbott. It'll be a tough challenge. He's got a lot of money behind him.
If we see a runoff, it will be on the Democratic side, not the Republican one.
That's right.
All right, thank you, James. Now to an important office for our state that sometimes gets overlooked, James.
And mispronounced, Victor. Here's our Brian Scott. Here's our Brian Scott with more.
So what exactly is a comptroller? And is it pronounced comptroller or controller? Believe it or not, it's actually controller, but either way works. What do they do, though? Well, they keep Texas's books. Yeah, the comptroller runs one of the biggest state agencies and serves as Texas's chief financial officer, part tax collector, accountant, treasurer, and then some. Forget balancing a checkbook. They manage more than $50 billion in state assets. Texas doesn't have a state income tax, so this office collects sales, business, and motor vehicle taxes from over 1,700 local governments. The comptroller also sets state budget boundaries, and before each legislative session, they perform a biennial revenue estimate, or BRE, telling lawmakers how much money they can spend on things like schools, healthcare, and public safety. And believe it or not, that's not all. The office also oversees college savings programs, unclaimed property, energy conservation, and even helps keep tobacco out of kids' hands.
James, I'm sure you've seen one of the issues that has been brought up is the candidates running for comptroller campaigning on things that the comptroller does not do.
Right. Yeah, they're running on a lot of culture issues when they're really just supposed to be the financial officers of the state. So that is something that is not new. We've seen it as the culture wars have become more prominent.
It is good to have the explanation of what exactly they do. All right, we're going to be back with another look at some of the offices showing up on your ballot this election, including someone who might have more power than the governor sometimes. Stay with us for that. And a reminder, Spectrum News has your personalized voter guide on the Spectrum News app. We'll provide all the information you need prior to heading to the polls, like where to vote, a preview of your ballot, and where the candidates stand on the issues in your community. And when the polls close, we'll have real-time election results as well. Just scan the QR code on your screen or tap on the voter guide within the homepage of the Spectrum News app to find all the essential voting information you need. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Before the break, we talked Senate, so now let's talk Congress.
A U.S. Congress member works for you, but they're typically not here in the state, Victor.
Yeah, let's take a closer look together. A member of Congress writes, debates, and votes on national laws that affect the entire community. Things like taxes, immigration, healthcare, infrastructure, and national security. They also decide how federal money is spent. Highways, disaster relief, veteran services, border security, and programs that send money back to Texas communities. Each congressperson speaks for about 750,000 Texans, and many offices help people who need Social Security assistance, VA benefits, or FEMA aid. And these representatives have 2-year term limits, so you'll see them on the ballot quite often. James, how many congressional races are Texans looking at this time around?
Well, they're looking at all of them, 38. We've got 38 seats. They run every 2 years. These are super important this year, however, because control of the U.S. House is up for grabs. Republicans have held it for the last 2 years. Democrats want to take it back. Don't forget, Victor, that redistricting we talked about so much last year.
Right. Now, James, when you think agriculture, you think farming, ranching, etc., right?
Yeah.
So you'd think the agriculture commissioner would be in charge of just that. But as our Brian Scott shows us here, there's more to it than farming.
So you know those scales you weigh your apples on at the grocery store, or the numbers on the gas pump? You don't want those shorting you a few cents. Well, there's an agency here in the state dedicated to making sure all those numbers are accurate. You can thank the Texas Department of Agriculture for that. Believe it or not, the Department of Ag is in charge of certifying scales and measurements across the state. It's a little known fact, but kind of a big deal if you don't want to get ripped off. And considering Texas is home to more than 230,000 farms, it makes sense that the Ag Commissioner wears a lot of hats. They're the top advocate for Texas agriculture, overseeing cattle, grain, plants, pesticides, hemp, and organic operations. Basically, if it grows, grazes, or gets sprayed, they oversee it. The department also backs agribusinesses, promotes Texas-made products, and pushes for policies on the state and federal level that help our farmers and ranchers thrive. They even work on rural economic development and disaster relief when Mother Nature hits. Those are the Ag Commissioner's traditional duties, but over the last decade, the job has gotten even bigger, including helping make school lunches healthier and running the National School Lunch Program for public schools. So now that you know what the Ag Commissioner does, you can go vote for the next one. Back to you.
I will add to Brian's report that the Agriculture Commissioner also tends to appear on Spectrum News a lot because we cover the weather so much.
That's true.
And there's a big connection between agriculture and the weather.
Right. Current Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller, he's running for another term. Interestingly, though, Victor, he does have a Republican challenger, Nate Sheets. who's a honey business owner, and he's been endorsed by Governor Abbott. So that's an interesting situation. I'm curious to see how that plays out. On the Democratic side, there's Clayton Tucker. He's going to be the Democratic candidate, and we'll see what happens and who he's going to face in November.
Okay. Well, we can now also bring up something else interesting and a position that has some little known roles, so that also this position has some serious pull in Texas.
Yes, our Aaron Davis shows us what the lieutenant governor is in charge of.
Hey, you didn't hear this from me, but did you know the Texas lieutenant governor is often considered more powerful than the Texas governor? It's true. Unlike most states where the position is mostly ceremonial, the Texas lieutenant governor plays a large role in overseeing the Senate functions. While the governor is the chief executive, the lieutenant governor decides which committees exist, who leads and serves on them. They set the legislative agenda, which gives them major influence over which bills are heard, and they have the ability to prevent bills from ever reaching the floor. In Texas, we have something called the plural executive system, which limits the governor's power by having many executive positions, including the lieutenant governor, who is elected independently. The lieutenant governor is elected every 4 years in the midterm elections and can run for re-election indefinitely. Back to you.
And normally we see the governor and lieutenant governor work hand in hand, although not always, like we saw with the hemp ban this year.
And that's why I got to agree with Aaron about that being possibly the most powerful position, because he wanted to pass that bill. The governor got in the way, and so there's no passage there. But to come up with some type of solution, it's got to go through the lieutenant governor and the Senate.
Yeah, there's always compromises at work.
That's right.
All right, stay with us. After the break, we're going to take a look at an office that you might think is outdated by its name.
We'll show you how and why the Railroad Commission does more than just manage trains. That's up next.
Thanks for sticking with us as we take a deep dive into some of the offices you will be voting on this election season. James, walk us through this next one.
You hear Railroad Commission, Vic, and you're really thinking of someone who maybe manages the railroad tracks and trains in the state, right? Wrong.
Okay.
Here's Brian Scott with an explanation.
So what if I told you the Texas Railroad Commission doesn't actually run Texas railroads? What they are is one of the most powerful regulatory agencies in the entire country, and here's why. You see, back in the late 1800s, the Railroad Commission really was about railroads, keeping trains on tracks and commerce moving, but over time the job went underground, literally. Today, the commission regulates oil pipelines, gas production, and drilling across the state. Their main goal is to protect the environment and the state's natural resources while keeping the energy industry in check. And one of the commissioner's jobs is making sure drillers don't get a little too close to someone else's wells. They also settle disputes between energy companies when they go head-to-head. In plain English, though, the Texas Railroad Commission watches over our oil, gas, utilities, propane, hazardous liquids, and critical energy infrastructure, even coal and, yes, uranium mining. They also help enforce major federal laws like the Clean Water Act, Safe Drinking Act, the pipeline safety rules. And as for who runs the whole thing, well, railroad commissioners are elected statewide for 6-year terms, and they're staggered so that there's always one on the ballot every 2 years. The commissioners choose their own chair, and if someone leaves early, the governor fills their seat. So no, they don't run the railroads anymore, but when it comes to Texas energy, they're a pretty big deal.
James, I have a song that this reminds me of. The commissioner does not work on the railroad all the livelong day. What are we looking at this race?
He does not, but it's super important because it does control a major industry here in Texas, and it does become a stepping stone for some people. You see the railroad commissioner right now, Christy Craddock. She's going to be running for controller against some other major names, but it is traditionally a stepping stone to other bigger positions in state government.
Okay, well, we will see how this one turns out as well. As a reminder, Spectrum News has your personalized voter guide on the Spectrum News app. We'll provide all the information you need prior to heading to the polls. We'll show you where to vote. We'll show you a preview of your ballot and where the candidates stand on the issues in your community. And when the polls close, we will have your real-time election results. Just scan the QR code on your screen that's there right now, or tap on the voter guide within the homepage of the Spectrum News app to find all the essential voting information that you will need. All right, that's going to do it for our quick look at some of the roles and responsibilities of the offices that you vote for this election season. Be with us for our live coverage and more from James as we bring you the latest results once the polls close.
And a reminder that you can find all of these explanations of Texas political offices and more on our Spectrum News app.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Again, I'm Victor Diaz.
And I'm James Barragan. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage. And click the subscribe button here. You can also download our app and watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.